Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Open Mic Foundation. I am Seshni Naidu, your co-host today, because we have three lovely women joining us from different places of South Africa and Peru today. So I'm going to bring them on. I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us today on this kitchen talk. It is the month of love, so we're going to be sharing and giving you guys some extra love today. So before I bring the ladies on, please follow us. You're going to also see we are streaming live on three different areas, Facebook and YouTube, and on the private group for Open Mic for Women. We also have giveaways today. So, guys, if you can push in the chat at the bottom, hashtag love, because that is the topic for today. There's a tool that I'm using at the background. So, you guys are going to be able to it's going to go into that draw. So I will be able to do a random draw for it, right? So throughout the talk, just hashtag love, send your questions through while we continue to talk. It's going to be an exciting view on how we talk about love today. So let's kick off the show, guys. And hello, ladies. Welcome to the Open Mic Foundation. How you guys doing?
Really well.
Oh, good.
Yeah?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sesh.
Hi. Thanks, guys, for coming today and joining us. Guys, we have a kitchen talk today. The talk is about love, looking at it from all different aspects of how do we look at love? What do we think about love? How do we embody love? What does it mean? What do we feel? And what do we relate it to today? Because there's been so much that has happened over the pandemic and it still is. So, welcome everyone. Thank you guys for joining. Say hi, guys. We have people already joining us from all different platforms. Please go into the comments and say hi. We'll be able to pick it up into the comments and share it with you guys. We have someone saying that you're pretty lady, so thank you, Facebook user. I can't see who you are, but thank you so much. Please make sure that you tag hashtag love so that we'll be able to do the draw for you guys a little bit later. There is a giveaway on the talk. You do have to stay on for the entire talk as well and contribute to the conversation with comments or questions that you may have. So I'm going to hand it over to these ladies, firstly to introduce themselves, who they are, where they're from, and just a little bit of some love from coming from them as well. So Kim, do you want to kick off?
Okay, so I'm Kim Tempest, also known on Facebook as Kimmy Tempest in the whole world, Cape Town, South Africa. Sorry to brag. And I am going to perhaps, contribute today to the concept of the mastery of love rather than a sort of preconceived idea about what love is. And I come from a very, very long journey with my own awareness of myself and how I've had to unravel all my belief systems around love. And I try and share that and coach my clients and assist them on their journey towards mastery of love as well. And that's kind of who I am and where I am right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Hello?
Cool.
Good afternoon, everyone. For those that are in the continent and to those elsewhere, good day and good morning. My name is Pelokazi. On these streets, this is now the virtual streets. I'm Pelokazi Lamapele. For me, I think today it would be important to talk about love in its purest form, which is love as a purpose, as a common purpose of humanity. And one thing that I think over the years I'm learning about is self-love. And that is something that I feel that we don't speak about often enough. We always speak about it in relation to something else. But I feel that at this point, it's something that I think each one of us should reflect on and see how do I measure that I love myself? And if I love myself, or if I don't love myself, how do I say I love others, kind of thing. So, yeah, I think for me, that would be a start. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks. Hello, Steph.
Hi, my name is Stef Ventura. I'm based in Lima, Peru at the moment. I am the Psychic Soul Empowerment Coach, and basically, I just help people to do very profound levels of healing work to connect to who they truly are on a soul level, higher self level. And as far as this conversation goes, what I would like to contribute today is to touch up on the importance of expressing love to one another and really being there for one another more during these challenging times that we're all experiencing around the world, where our life experiences and what's happening in the world is taking a toll on people and is impacting just their mental health, their emotional health, and it can feel very dark or depressing or isolating for many people. And just the importance of really expressing our love to one another during that process or that experience, so that people don't feel as low as they do, and they can continue to move forward on their journeys.
Oh wow, we've really got some really different aspects of how we see love and what love means to us as individuals, and I think has humanity itself. I For me specifically, going through the emotions of a whole host of life experiences, and as we talk about, it's also about how do we embody love as self, and two fellows sharing her insights as well. Sometimes we take it for granted about ourselves and we don't focus much. I personally myself ended up focusing more on that when life happens, whether it's through divorces, life challenges, burnout, through various different angles. And then all of a sudden, we look to ourselves. And that's when I started to learn about love myself, to be very honest with you. And it was surprising how much we do take it for granted. So I think let's kick it off. Ladies, who wants to kick it off today?
Mm,
Mastery of love? You want to go, Kim?
Okay, so I had an amazing journey from arriving in Cape Town in 2010, having lived in Joburg for most of my life. I left behind a teacher who was 80 years old and just was a fountain of wisdom. And I came to Cape Town thinking, who's going to be my new spiritual mother? Who's going to be my teacher? Who am I going to go to? I see clients all day. I coach all day. I always felt like I needed someone older and wiser to keep me, keep me grounded in the teachings of what we know, that if we understand everything, we understand that actually everything is just love is all there is. And the journey of life is to understand and return to love, because we, in the process of us becoming domesticated in our early childhood years, we have this process we go through, which is to kind of be tainted by belief systems that separate us from the original beauty of life and the dream of life, which is love. And people don't maybe have the language or the understanding. And generally, we all grow up in this very fast world until maybe one day we meet a teacher and they start saying things to us and we're like, oh, wow, I need more of that wisdom or understanding or reconnection to this thing called love. And we have, we get to 17, 18, 19, 20, and we're falling in love. And that's a whole different type of love. And everybody uses the word love as if it's like, that is what it is, And I think when I got here and I didn't have this wise teacher anymore, I just kept on searching. And I think Sheshni and I have had this conversation 100 times where we say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And in 2012, I met this phenomenal woman. Her name was Elizabeth. She was she'd gone through a journey of note, and she was an oncologist, left the profession and converted to a psychologist, coached and assisted people with many kinds of people with terminal illnesses, studied astrology, studied love, studied Course in Miracles, everything she could get her hands on, and then went through the journey of having cancer herself and had to learn to love herself. Through the ideology of the fact that she realized where she lost her innocence was when she realized her mother didn't love her. And the first thing that we have, the first taste of love that we possibly ever really will have the most of, the connection, is the Divine Mother through our own mothers. And perhaps for many, when that is lost, or where that innocence of the true energy of love is actually felt, deeply felt, is lost. Sometimes we lose ourselves at a very young age. And I've recently read this particular relationship that I had with Elizabeth brought me through from 2012 to where I am now, through many books, many texts, many ancient wisdoms. But the most profound thing was we'd get together once a month and we'd have 6, 7, 8 hour conversations. I would sit with her at her beach house and we would just talk, as we are talking now in Kitchen Talks, for hours about everything. And most of our conclusions and all the things that we spoke about took us back to the story about love and the loss of love and the loss of what we then call the loss of innocence. Because actually our divine right is really love and abundance. And we can go through life just feeling shattered and lost if we can't feel love. The important thing, and I loved what Stef has said, is that sometimes the only way to really connect with love again, or reconnect with love, is to demonstrate love. And in a verse that I read somewhere, sometime long ago, that I quickly scribbled down in a journal probably about 10 years ago, is love is more easily demonstrated than felt. So the world can tarnish everything for the very chaotic mind, and we can lose connection with love. But when somebody just takes the time and the perhaps opportunity to express love for a stranger, or just show your love or your kindness to somebody by even just doing something small, like you see somebody's shopping bags falling out the bottom and they just like in a frazzle, and you just drop what you're doing and you go up to them and say, hey, are you okay? I can help you. That is demonstrating love. And humanity, society have perhaps lost this. We have been like thrown in the last 2 years into massive fear and separation. And I think what I'd like to really reiterate, it is our fear-based belief systems and assumptions that have undermined love and that lead to these toxic relationships and suffering and drama and suicide and threats of suicide and crazy behaviors that never needed to be that way if we undo the fear-based belief system, which in the whole flow of things is what I call the mastery of transformation, which is taught through a book I've been actually studying since about last year, July. I can read it over and over and over and again. It's so simple, and I have shared it on my article because it's so meaningful, and it takes us back to an understanding of where we got lost, where our innocence was lost, which is right in the childhood years where we perhaps no longer felt safe with the 1 or 2 or 3 people who we were meant to feel most safe with. And the loss of innocence or the loss of love does not denote that you will never find it again. It just means that perhaps the teachings need to come out in the right way. And if I could share the teachings of this healer, Miguel Roy, just to say there's a book out there. It explains so much, and I could say what I can in 10 or 15 minutes, but each person has a place that they're coming from and a place that they're going to. They have experiences that are trapped within them that they can't unravel very easily. And sometimes when we understand that an awareness, a mastery of our own awareness must come first before we move towards the mastery of love, which is we actually need to do love more than we feel love. And then love will come because suddenly we understand that we are actually the greatest creators. We create everything. As we see, as we perceive, as we do, we create. So in actual fact, when we're more connected, more self-aware, more self-loving, demonstrating acts of goodness towards ourselves, being absolutely sharp about what language we hear that we say to ourselves and the language we use with others. Is it a loving word or is it a judgmental word? Because we've got to, as a human race, connect to the understanding that we no longer are going to thrive in a society where we perpetually judge or find fault or try to find fault or try to fix something or someone. We need to understand that this is process. We as an evolving race, as an evolving collective and frequency, should be understanding that love is the only frequency we want to be vibrating in order for us to create freedom, in order for us to unravel our old belief system. So I think to simplify, the steps that I mentioned were the mastery of awareness, which will lead us to the mastery of transformation. And transformation is probably the most complex step in the mastery system, because mastery, first of all, is a word that suggests it's difficult. Like when you go and you study for 10 years to be a doctor or what have you, by the time you're studying 10 years, you may be accepted to do your master's. We look at mastery as something that's maybe impossible to achieve. But then you realize actually the dream is what it is, that one by one, when you unravel the poisons that were attached to you or that you attached to yourself in whatever order, the belief systems, the assumptions, the programming that you just have to unravel and replace with healthy and loving belief systems, then will lead you to a complete understanding of the freedom that you feel, which is, oh, I'm mastering love. I'm not feeling love, I'm feeling freedom. I'm feeling free from the attachments of negativity, the attachments of fear-based thinking. And I'm actually aware of the fact that when I do love, that is when I am love. And the domestication that we've gone through, the images of perfection, which is at its heights. I mean, since the late 90s, it's become a chronic disease as far as I'm concerned, this addiction to perfection, to performance, to achievement, that I'm only okay when I'm up there with everything. And then I can love myself. I can only love myself when or I can only do this when and we attach ourselves to these like ridiculously burnout related type activities for some perceived goal in order to, instead of loving ourselves every day, just because we have that goal, which is separate from love. The goal is about the dream, but the loving attitude towards ourselves, whether it's walking on the wet grass early in the morning when you wake up rather than racing through your phone, is an act towards yourself and maybe even to another. Taking your hubby a cup of coffee and saying, come and walk on the grass with me. It's an act of love. It's starting the day with love. It's saying, I'm going to do this for me because it's a good way for me to start my day. Little things. And that kind of highlights how we can take relationships further. I think
Kimmy, before you go into that steps of mastery, there's just a little bit of a comment that came through for you. Unfortunately, the Facebook user, I can't see who you are because you didn't register your name when you entered in. So I don't know who you are. So if you could just have a look at that comment.
Okay. So it's true. It's hard. That's another thing. The innocence that is lost. It has everything to do with your demonstrations of love. the most very appropriate, because something is actually corrupted in the space where we have loss of innocence. And something that's very connected to love is the feeling of trust. So often I've counseled couples, and I've even counseled co-workers where trust has become lost through maybe a series of events or a series of actions, or normally it's got to do with wrong words. People have said things to each other in a most unloving and destructive way. And we've spoken about this on Kitchen Talks 2 years ago, I think it was, where the power of words can remove innocence. They can take, it's like a knife, and it cuts. And this is the first step of demonstrating love, is when you know that you have hurt and offended someone with your words, go immediately and sincerely do everything you can to undo those words. And then to the receiver of that loss of innocence, loss of trust, harming of words, or a bad or a negative action imposed on you that wasn't necessarily deserved. Nobody deserves that. You need to work with, how can I take that and either return it silently to the person or put it to some other place because I know it doesn't belong in my heart. And that's a journey where there's so much that needs to happen, because we need to slow down for long enough to not attach ourselves to that drama. Now, when you're a child, it is not possible to, because things are also age appropriate. If you have experiences through your childhood that are quite dramatic in terms of a loss of innocence, a loss of trust, and a loss of respect, because trust and respect ultimately are a very strong principle that both of those are required for a relationship to be quite solid in love. In a child's loss of innocence, those can be tricky to journey back towards. However, this is part of the journey of mastery. It is the journey through adulthood that we perhaps are challenged with the focus around self-awareness. The first step is self-awareness, always. Yep. It matters very much what has happened to you, but you are not what has happened to you. You need to go within yourself and find out who you are, what you are, where you are. That innocent child is not what has happened to you. The separation of what has happened to you is quite important, because those were not loving acts that were demonstrated towards you. Those were experiences that perhaps tarnish your experience with love. And so it's the first step of mastery of awareness that is so vital, because we can spend the first half of our lives, if not forever, doing self-awareness. Because as you uncover one layer for transformation, and the next one appears, the next one appears, the next one appears. Because we are made of layers.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate that. Who wants to, Pella, you want to go next?
Yeah, wow. That's seriously mind-blowing, what Kim has just shared, because I guess everyone can relate to what she's saying at every level. I think for me, if you remember, I said I would like to start with the purest form of love, which is love that is a collective responsibility as humanity. All right, I'll put it as responsibility, although at a certain point I'm gonna dump that word, and then also spoke about self-love. All right, so for me, the first thing I will speak about is one's experiences. When you talk about love, a lot of the times you talk about something that you've seen being demonstrated. You talk about things that you've experienced through others, through your interaction with others. And for the longest time, that becomes your reference point when you talk about love. My mom, my dad, the people that were married, people that were a couple, people around me, socially, how people interacted with one another. That's always the reference point. So in my journey, probably similarly to what Kim is talking about, in my journey, in my 40s, only then did I start realizing that I know nothing about love. And right now I'm in my 50s, right? I'm turning 54 this year. And
Cheap, sister. I'm in my 40s. Preach. Preach.
For somebody that's turning 54 this year, to say I knew nothing about love in my 40s and I'm still learning, that is a big statement, because a lot of us would like to believe that we know ins and outs and we know everything about it. Kim said it's layers. It's like an onion, you think you know it when you look at it from the outside. Only when that thing that comes out of an onion goes into your eyes, you realize, I didn't know that an onion can be like this. Or somebody else might say, I know an onion from the food that I eat. So that's how you peel the layers of love, because initially, like I'm saying, it's from the things you've seen, the things you've experienced, and then you later realize, depending on your journey, of course, you then realize, wait a minute, I didn't know. I did not know. I am still in the process of learning about love. That's me now. I'm still in the process of learning about love, the authentic love, which is love from the source, which is God that created us out of love, and we're born into love. A lot of us were born into a space where you were a child that your parents wanted, but there's kids that were born and their parents didn't want them. And so, do we say there's no love there? I don't think so. It's just their experience would be an experience of there was no love. However, my belief in the journey from when I started being aware that I didn't know anything about love, when I was journeying with various teachers, I realized that what I thought I knew about love is nothing close to what love is. There is this thing that is, we are all born and connected to one another. And this is not something that we immediately know. We realize it during, like for the last 2-3 years, I think this is when we realized that there is this thing that is called a collective responsibility towards one another. So for me, whilst I'm still in the process of learning about love, I also understood that we tend to then want to tie people to us. When we're talking about love, our brokenness or our fears or our expectations are the ones that then taint what this thing called love is. However, when you are naturally and authentically giving love without expecting anything in return, when you're doing acts of love, as Kim was talking, I understood exactly what you're saying, that love is most experienced through action. But at times, people don't do acts of love. They become this thing that you get drawn to because they are love embodiment, right? So you find yourself getting drawn to certain people because they become like a love magnet, if I can put it that way. But a lot of the times when we get drawn to those people, we go with our expectations. I want them to do this and that for me, and that will mean that they love me. We put conditions. However, love is not supposed to be like that. This is where we mess it up. We start putting conditions, we start tying people to us so that they can prove that they love us. Now, my mom, my dad, do they have to prove that they love me? I know that they love me, right? I know that they love me. However, because of everything else that I will experience on this planet, I will then want them to do 1 or 2 or 3 things for me to prove that they love me. Even if they can show me the purest form in providing, for example, a home, a warm home for me, a place that is welcoming. When I get broken in the outside world, I come running to them. I will still have those expectations because the world will teach me that it's not love if they don't do something for you. And we also don't know where they're coming from, because remember, nobody teaches another person how to love. That's another thing. We have expectations, but what do we measure that against? We don't have a school for teaching people how to love. We don't have a school for teaching people how to authentically love without expectation. Because when you grow up, because of the things that you've seen growing up, you use that as a yardstick. And then you expect that when I love my child, when they grow up, they need to do things for me because I've given love to them. And so they owe me. It's almost like it's a bank. The more I love them, the more I'm depositing something to them, and therefore they should give back with interest. And a lot of the times that interest has got material attached to it. And a lot of the times we are wounded lovers. We love people with wounds that we've carried from wherever, from the world. I'm not going to say that, it's because your mom didn't love you, your dad didn't love you, but the wounds that we carry in the world, from the world, we then take those wounds and take it to the people that are close to us and expect them to put band-aid over those wounds. Now,
so much of truth in that. So much of truth in
even
that.
communicate what our expectations are. And then all of a sudden, we wound those people back. Because the only way we know, if you don't give me what I want, then I will hurt you. That becomes a demonstration of love, which is a sick love. And we teach our children this. We teach the people that love us this. We walk away from people that don't love us the way we want to be loved. Because if they don't love me in this particular form, then I will hurt them so that they come crying to me. So we're hurting them so that they come back to us and then we can nurse their wounds. So we're constantly hurting one another in this process of saying we're demonstrating love. So I am saying I still am learning. I am still in preschool of love at this point. Although I know that as a purpose, one is striving for that because that is the pure space where it comes from. As a purpose for me, I am learning to say, how do I then not judge people because they don't love me the way I want them to? Why do I think I deserve to be loved a particular way? Do I know where these people come from, who I'm expecting certain things from? Do I even communicate what I'm expecting from them? And 9 out of 10 times, we don't.
No.
We just expect, and when it's not given, we then complain, and we hurt, and we inflict pain, we say painful words, we push people away because they're not doing what we expect. But do they know what we are expecting? Do we even know what we want? Because a lot of the times we don't even know what we want. We don't even know what we're expecting, but we'll say, I will know it when it happens. Now, how does another person know when you say I will know it when it happens?
Yeah.
This is what I call more of control.
Yeah. That's the ironic part, right? You
Right.
create these massive expectations.
Exactly.
Do we actually know what we truly want? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Or are we addicted to control and power and drama?
This is the strings that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those are the strings that I'm talking about. You then hurt people because you want to yank them back to you, but through pain. Oh, I'm going to deprive them of love, and so they can come running back to me. And so you become you feel like you're a fortress of love, because now people come running to you. But it's not supposed to be so. Love in its purest form is about caring for one another. It's about looking out for one another. It's about being caregivers to one another. And even there, we shouldn't then have strings attached. That if Kim is going to be my caregiver, if she's going to be my caregiver, she needs to then do 1 and 2 and 3 things for me. Because sometimes I don't even know that Kim in her corner in Cape Town is praying for me, but is not physically available to me, or even telephonically, or even, she might be praying for me. She might be praying for me. And so because I don't hear her saying words to me, I think, no, there's no act of love there. I don't have to be seeing that. But because we are all connected, there's certain things that might be happening to me because Kim is putting me in her prayers, because Kim is putting positive intentions for me to heal, positive intentions for me to be a better version of myself. I don't have to know that she's doing that. But because we've been taught to tie things to love, we don't become those pure caregivers. We become those things that give with an expectation. What do I give back? And what is the interest that I get over and above what I've given to that person? Are they going to give it 10 times more so that they can say they love me? Are they going to give it 10 squared so that then I can say they love me? You know, we have these expectations from people instead of just purely being authentic and loving and not just loving people you know. Kim said a stranger in the mall. You know, you do an act of love there. We shouldn't tie love to our fears, love to our wounds. And because we're expecting other people to come and heal us, let us make it our own responsibility to heal from the things that have made us to be broken lovers. And when I'm saying lover, people attach it to a romantic relationship. No, as people that do the act of love, we need to take responsibility for that journey so that we don't make other people servants of our healing so that we can love. Because even when you do that, those servants of love will never do enough if you haven't healed. And so we need to take responsibility of our own healing. And when you do that, and I'm saying I'm a student here, I'm still learning. And so as somebody that's still learning, you will get it right, you will get it wrong, you will get it right, you will get it wrong, but don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just know if your intentions are pure, then it's good enough. If your intentions are pure, let it not be, I am doing this because I'm expecting X, Y, and Z. And when you progress from there to now saying, how do I then love myself? Because a lot of the times we want other people to love us, but do we even know how to love ourselves? Because we can teach people how they can love us if we love ourselves. A lot of the times we don't love ourselves and we don't even, like I was saying initially, we don't even know what we're expecting from other people. And we putting up these expectations, but we have big holes inside of us. We have these huge holes inside of us that we need to work on. We need to love ourselves. Loving yourself at times means taking just 10 minutes of your time in your day, in your busy day, and you take 10 minutes of your time and self-nurture. Sitting there in your bathtub, lighting candles and just sitting there and not doing any business in your head. Just sitting there, laying there is saying, I'm giving something to myself. In the 24 hours, this 10 minutes is dedicated to me, is dedicated to self, is dedicated to reconnecting to the source of the love that we are. So there's this question, how do we do that? How do we heal?
That's you need a whole show just for that, but I'm gonna give you the time, Pelo, to try to help. I think it's Tandeka that's on there.
Okay.
Tandeka, if it's you, just give me a thumbs up if it is you.
I'll write the question down so that we can go back to it at a later stage, because I'm thinking Steph also needs to jump in there and So for me, I think that would be what I contribute to the talk at this point. And then at a later stage, one might be able to explain a bit more.
Yeah. Before I hand it over to Steph, I mean, the same person is saying, I don't know how to love myself. I am painfully learning because I'm used to giving other people what I think I should do. It's bad. So, okay, Steph, Pel, you can respond back to that question just now. All right, Steph, go for it.
So, first of all, I want to applaud the ladies and what they've said, because it was just powerful wisdom and just like brilliant. I was just sitting here like in awe, like just listening, even though maybe my face looked a little bit serious, but I was like, wow, this talk is powerful. I'm so glad I'm a part of it. But I want to touch up on a little bit of what the lady said before. I kind of mentioned a little bit of what I want to talk about. And I think it's interesting because as we evolve as humans and as our technology evolves, I see differences in generations. And I just turned 33, and I see that older generations, especially depending maybe on their background, where they're at in the world, their age specifically, they had society wise, they had a certain mindset about their roles as men, as women, what's in their culture influences that a lot, and all of these different things. And so I see that in a lot of the older generations, especially with women, it's a very self-sacrificing love, and they're always constantly giving to others and doing for others and being there for others and sacrificing their own wants and needs and dreams and desires, etc., because that's what they were taught is love. That's the definition, or the what was modeled to them, what was demonstrated to them is what love is, right? And so there's a lot of programming there with the older generations around what love is, whereas the younger generations, like my age, and then even 20 years younger, in my age, we're at a level of because of technology and just like booms in personal development and mental health awareness and all these different things, we're starting to become more aware of these things at a much earlier age, right? So people of older generations are starting to discover this in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And then there's those of us that are like in our late 20s and 30s, or like early, like, I don't know, right before our 40s. And then there are people that are going to come after us that are like 15, and they're like starting to get into these things. And so it's really interesting how, the older generations, especially if they've had families, they just now, once their kids are grown and they're able to have that time for themselves, they're then able to have that experience of like, hold on a second, they're able to really be able to put into themselves and explore what love means to them, and to practice self-love, etc. Whereas like my age, at least, I started getting into this personal development healing work in like when I was like 26, 27. And that's what I've been working through in order to the day that I have my family, I don't sacrifice myself for my family, because that's what I was taught. And that's who I was for most of my life, is like always thinking of others, 10 steps ahead to know what other people needed and always anticipating that, etc. And if I had had a family young, I would have burned myself out trying to do these things for all these kids and trying to be the perfect mom, because I had very negative experiences of what love was growing up. And so I was going to like overdo it and like try to be perfect, and I was going to burn myself out. And that's like from my trauma. The way I would have expressed love to children if I had had them younger, would have been from a very like trauma filled place. And I would have just done too much and stuff. But I took the time, because I became aware of this at a younger age. I took the time to start working through those things so that I don't fall into those patterns as I move forward with my journey. So I just think it's really interesting how, different generations come into awareness of love and what self-love means, and these practices and the inner work, and the different things that they have to like unwind based on, just like where they're at in life, and the different perspectives and experiences that we have based on where we're at in life. There's an echo that's really distracting me here? I can't think.
Let me just check. I'm going to mute myself, right? So let's see if that echo's coming from me.
Yeah, it's very really distracting for me. Sorry, but yeah, it's good now. And so, what else I want to talk about is what Kimmy said around like your words cut like knives, and they can cause you to lose trust in people. And as a consequence, when you lose trust, when there is no trust, it's hard for you to love, open yourself up to love. And that's been really big for me because, even just last night as I was visiting a friend, every person is made differently. And some people have thicker skin than others. Some people can tolerate harsh, critical words more than others. Other people are so sensitive, and you can't talk to them in that way. And what I have come to learn through astrology, especially because I recently got a little bit more into it the last couple of years, is like, this is true. Like, some people literally just function in the world differently from other people, or like human design. So you can't expect that being direct with one person, like it may not affect them the way that you bring forward a message, but if you're in that same kind of directness with another person, it's going to maybe crush them and make them question a lot of things about themselves and their relationship with you, etc. And so I'm always a big proponent of like, you can communicate what you want to communicate, but you can do it with love. You can still be direct, you can still tell it like it is, but from a place of love instead of from a place of cutting people down, making them feel bad and all this other stuff. And it's a conscious active practice. So that's something that I wanted to point out to anyone listening, is that a lot of times we don't think that our words are like such a big deal, like, oh, it's just whatever. But for some people, it can be the biggest deal in the world, and it can literally like powerfully transform their lives. And I say that because, based on my astrology, how it was explained to me, etc., and how I now know and understand myself, like I have been very sensitive to comments and criticism. And I didn't know that as a kid, because you're just a kid. But now as an adult, as I analyze these things, it's so true. Like, I had people in my life, adults, that I know they love me, but I guess the way that they communicated things to me was in such a harsh and critical way, or that's how I took it, especially. And that did a number on my self-esteem. That did a number on my self-worth, on my self like love. And it's something that I've been actively working on these last 5 years to undo how strongly those words or that criticism impacted me, to really learn to love and accept myself and not be harsh on myself. Because everyone here has a negative voice in their head, that tells you you're not good enough or this or that. But I think some of us have that voice be louder than others. And especially the way that we're, astrologically, I guess, designed. And so I am such a person, and I have had to work so hard these last few years on undoing that, and to learn to really start loving and accepting myself and stop being so hard on myself. And so, and also, with this thing, like, because I've experienced, for me, how my experience was of it, just harsh criticisms and just a lot of experiences. I grew up with abuse and just other things, that caused me to have a mistrust of life, not have that trust of life, not trust God or the universe, source, creator, whatever you want to call this higher power. And it's been a challenge for me as a spiritual person, especially as a spiritual leader, when I'm teaching people to connect deeply with God or source, and I'm teaching them to trust in God and source's plan. But then, because of my own experiences, like, I was afraid of letting go and fully surrendering and trusting to God, right? Because I didn't trust in that love, because my experiences. And so when you lose that trust, and in to be loved and accepted as you are, to be supported as you are, etc., it can cause these powerful impacts in your life in so many different ways. It can manifest in so many ways. And one of those ways, especially when you're walking a more spiritual path, is not fully trusting the divine and the plan that the divine has for you, and surrendering to it and letting it be okay. Because, and then, like, you're also trying to put conditions on how, like, life is. It's kind of like what Pella was saying earlier about, like, oh, well, if you love me this way, then I know you love me. You have to prove your love to me. And so as a spiritual person, then you're like, well, God, if you love me, my life is going to be perfect. This is going to work out. I'm going to hit these goals and this and that. And if it doesn't, you're like stressed the hell out. And you're just like, oh my God, nobody loves me. And this can send you into a downward spiral. And this is kind of what I wanted to touch up on today, is because last week I found out that I had unexpectedly lost a friend, a fellow spiritual leader, light worker, beautiful, beautiful, amazing soul who had so much love to give. And I truly feel was intended to be here so much longer and to just create an even more greater impact in the world. But the spiritual journey isn't an easy one. When you're a spiritual leader, you have to really walk this path, and you're going to have certain things. I don't want to say test, but it feels that way. You're gonna be brought to your knees a lot of times with certain things that you have to face and heal and deal with. And when you're going through that, it takes a mental and emotional toll on you. And it can lead you sometimes to the point, because you're thinking, God, I'm trying to serve you. I'm trying to help people change their lives for the better. I'm trying to do good here. And you're going about your journey and you're doing your best to trust. But then God isn't showing up the way that you want. Things aren't working out the way that you want. And then you don't really fully trust life. And And so you start stressing out about it because things are not flowing the way that you want them to flow. So you're not trusting fully in the process. And then that overwhelms you emotionally, mentally, and you spiral. And then it can lead people to take their lives, like my friend. And, that is one of the, I guess, like more challenging consequences or difficult consequences that we can experience because we're just so disconnected from love. We're so disconnected from trusting that we're fully loved and supported as we are, that everything is working out. And so, yeah, it can lead us to these kinds of actions. I hope that made sense. But, with that real quick, I want to say that that whole experience with my friend, because I'm sure that my friend was going through things where they probably thought like, oh, what's the point of continuing to go on this journey? Does my work even matter? Do I even still need to be here? Like nothing seems to be working out for me. And then, because I've had those kinds of thoughts on my journey as well. And I've contemplated, checking out of this planet several times. And I'm like, I'm ready to go. But, that whole experience of finding out about my friend has really helped me to understand the importance of really showering one another with love and being there for one another. Because I'm sure that if my friend had people around him saying like, no, your work does matter, you are brilliant, you are amazing, and to really put that into him when maybe he was going through a dark moment and he was being challenged with putting that into himself, like I'm sure it would have made a difference. I think I agree so much. I'm big on taking personal responsibility and putting back into yourself and taking care of yourself to cultivate that self-love, because it is self-love. But at the same time, it's really important to open up to receiving love from other people and letting other people put back into you and be there for you. And when we're spiritual leaders or people that are trying to make this world a better place in some kind of way, a lot of times it's so easy for us to give and be there and everything and trying to put on a brave face and be strong for everyone and lead people forward. But then we don't let people in when we need them, when we're at our weakest and vulnerable. And then, it can just drive us into negative things. And so, I think because of my friend, it really inspired me to start holding once a month calls. I'm going to start holding in March to just check in with people and just shower one another with love and be there for each other, to really help people know and understand like you matter and you are worthy of being here. And whatever you're going through, you're going to get through it. And just because you're going through these difficulties doesn't mean you're not loved any less, and that you are supported and all these other things, and to really shower one another with love, because I personally feel like that's what source God put us here on this earth, is to love each other, is to be there for each other. And we need one another on some level. Even though, yes, we have to take personal responsibility over our lives and be independent, we are still meant to be here because humans are biologically programmed to be in communities and to have a kind of interdependence on one another. It's not dependence, it's interdependence. It means we benefit from our relationships. Like you benefit from me, I benefit from you. This is balance, this is even. And so we need to be there for one another. And so yeah, that's what I wanted to say to that. I think I touched on all my points. Thank you for listening to me.
So Steph, I just want to comment before I go into some stuff that I wanted to touch on today. Being experienced with my partner that I was with for 23 years and also committing suicide, it is not the easiest thing to go through. And to all the points that you've touched on, giving love to people, whether it's a sense of kindness, attribute of action, words, gift, whatever form of love is given, giving someone love, it doesn't take self-respect out of someone. And to your point, we are here all to be loved, and experience love in different ways and forms, because we all have different interpretations of love. I do acknowledge that, and I found that over time is that the interpretations of how we see love and hear love, and sense love, feel, it is very disjointed right now in humanity. And through what Kim has said, with those different layers as to how we go through, as to what we've experienced as well. So, guys, we've touched on so many different aspects, and I think between the three of you, you basically covered what I was gonna say. But I just want to just a few points that I want to share with you guys as well. To practice continuously engaging in the cycle of acceptance and presence, forgiveness, and open heartedness as well with self is so important. It's one of the processes that I had to go through many years ago as well. I didn't, and to Pearl's point, you don't know when it hits you. And when you start asking the questions and looking at what does love actually mean, and more importantly, what does it mean to myself? And when you start asking it and reflecting it back at yourself, it is something that is the most profound thing that a human can ever go through. Because that experience of that open heartedness and that willingness to be accepted in the presence that you are in right now, it really does open up a lot of doors. The thing that I also want to cover is that, we also are our own students as well. And I think over the years between Kim and Pelo have taught me as well, we're students of our own body, mind, and heart. And we continuously learn every single day of our lives that we are on this earth today. Do we actually listen to our body? Because all these emotions that we feel and we have, we store. And we store it in our body, right? And the body, if we don't listen, we're not going to be able to hear what the body is actually telling us. Whether it's heartache, whether it's happiness, whether it's joy, whether it's what we want to embrace, we have to be able to listen to the body. And we also need to understand what actually grows our heart. What do we actually want, guys? Right? Are we asking that? And most importantly, what are the stories we are actually telling ourselves through our mind? Right? Are we conscious enough to connect with our mind and our thoughts? And what stories do we tell ourselves that we actually say we live in? Do we live in them? Is the narrative that we share with ourselves today is what we want to be or live in today? And these are some of the things that I've been through over the years as well. I think the one thing, Steph, which I've learned as well, is practicing forgiving of others is so important. The blaming game, the judging game that Pelo was talking about, that we put, it's that reflection of ourselves as well. We have to actually practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is so, so important, right? In order to give love and to show people we love, whatever people have done based on your life experiences, you have to forgive. It is part of life, humanity. You have to, no one's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. I've made my own share of mistakes, and it comes with its own life experiences as well. And it takes a lot of courage and personal strength in order to be loving to what actually matters out there for you. As much as we all spoke about love and all of those things as well, we also have this element of the world of earth. And I want to bring that flavor, our mother earth as well, right? We look at so much of climate change right now. We look at what actually is happening. It takes us, the selfless act that we have within ourselves, to our plants, our animals, in the sea, in the ocean, and who we have, the trees. I never realized how much Mother Earth talks to us. I have to share the story. I live in South Africa in the Pretoria area, and recently Pretoria had been gushed down with floods, right? Floods that was absolutely so bad, where people actually lost their lives. The end part of it, that it's the upset and the roar that happened within the communities. The flood came to people to say, calm down. Yes, you need to calm down. You are shaking the earth, and the earth is trying to Mother Earth is trying to tell you something, and we're not listening. We are so, so involved in outside about the outer environment, about what's happening with oneself, what's happening with that person, your neighbor, the cousin, the family, worried about the job and the goals and the achievements and all. But what is right in front of us at this moment and in the present time? If we cannot embody the love that's right here, right now, we're not going to be able to move further on this planet. And I say that with absolutely love because there's been so much of damage and heartache that has been caused between the floods, the earthquakes, the fires, and being experiencing the floods of recent as well. It was such an outcry. People were, in South Africa, Steph, I don't know if you've heard this or if you've been, with a lot of people have been complaining about the load shedding and the no electricity, and it was such a rampage, and it was really, really, the floods came in at the time where it had to stop the noise. It just came down to such an extent where people just didn't realize the vibration and the energy that was shooken to them, didn't realize. Stop complaining, stop moaning. Look at what's right there in front of you. We all have problems. We all have challenges, whether it's at work, whether it's with the kids, whether it's with your job, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your parents. We all go through it. And if you cannot forgive, right? If you cannot forgive and move past that, and Steph, through the suicide of my ex-husband as well, he could not forgive. So much of heartache, so much of things that was holding and couldn't see beyond the pain and the hurt that was experienced. Hence why I say there's so much there, but and to Kim's point, love is around us everywhere we go, we see, we feel, and it's about the mind, body, and soul. The heart is at its purest form. Do you actually know what that feels to be loved and loved? But more importantly, to love yourself unconditionally, because no one can love yourself more than you. That I can truly tell you, because nobody will be able to love it the way that you love yourself, especially with what Pelo is saying, right? If you don't tell people how you want to be loved, they're not going to know it. But if you don't know how to love yourself, you can't expect it from someone else to do that, right? So there's a lot of comments coming through right now. So let me just show this quickly. Hey, Jen. Hey, is it Jeanette? Hey, Jeanette. Self-love was nothing I had to really learn from scratch. And it's true that light workers have interesting twist of life, certainly, for sure. Tandeka, for me, I would say that it's like a healing your own open wound. You'll look for any best remedy exits to make sure it heals and give it time. And remember, the scar will always be there as a reminder, but don't hate it. It's there to remind you that you have loved. Cool. Let's see what's this one. We don't listen to our bodies. I know I don't. Constantly changing routes to accommodate someone and me and the kids. Absolutely. We don't listen.
Thank you.
And then I have so many, how do I begin? Where I think I have wounded people to really try to love me, but this conversation for a full day. Absolutely, guys. We can really go into different elements of love because it's all around us and embodied to us all over. And love heals everything. So, guys, before I open up the floor to any more questions and comments, I'm going to open it up to the ladies right now. If you have any questions for our guest speakers, particularly, please send it through. If there's any more comments through. Before you do that, can you just say hashtag love in the comments? No, nothing else attached. Hashtag love to the comments, because I would like to give away a giveaway today on the talk. We've had such an engaging conversation with you guys. So please hashtag love so that I can pick it up so that we can do the draw quickly. So ladies, I'm going to open the floor to you guys with some of the comments, what has been said. Let's go.
I've been burning to say something.
Okay, go for it.
As you were talking, I am amazed by the shift in our conversation today compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think at the time it was still the shock of COVID-19 and its impact and loss of lives and all of that.
Yeah.
But today, I'm listening to this, it's a more somber type of conversation. Because I think for the longest time, when you talk about love, it's this fuzzy feeling and it's all, your head in the clouds type of thing. I think we're being real now. If anything, this is the most real conversation I think that we've had. We're really going into why are we here? Why are we here all at this time?
I'm
Not just self,
amazed.
not just oneself, but why are we all here at this point? Why are we on planet Earth? You spoke about love for our environment, love for our planet. And this is not something it's almost like in the last 2 years we've been forced to really look at things and not have a way out. So we were forced to go on lockdown so we can really look at ourselves and how we interact and relate with one another. And then we moved out of that space to the environment that we're in, the world that we live in is starting to show, it's almost like it's a mirror. It's giving us what we're giving it. So everything, the energy, the vibration right now of humanity, it's like we haven't learned anything from what has been happening in the last 3 years. So it's almost like we're being forced to really look at ourselves and really take stock of what we are doing, first to the world, to the universe, and secondly to ourselves and to others around us. And the others around us include the animals, includes the plants, includes everything, because those are the elements that are now showing us our aggression. The aggression that we're putting out, we're getting it directly from the universe back, and it's saying you're not going to have a way out until you change or shift something. We might not even be aware that this whole situation with electricity is not about electricity. It's about saying we need to live clean. It might even be because how do we even generate this electricity using coal? What does coal do to the atmosphere? Do you understand? And what we've been talking about the weather, and there's been conversations around the weather, but are we listening? Sesh, I'm hearing you loud and clear. And these are conversations true conversations we need to have. So it needs to stop being, when you talk about love, it's this fuzzy feeling. We need to start being real about it. Why are we here? We are the planet has given us a lot. It's given us food, it's given us oxygen, it's given us so many things. But what are we putting into the planet? So maybe Mother Earth is saying it's enough. I want to show you what you've been giving me, and I want to be aggressive just like you are towards me, right? You spoke about forgiveness, Sesh. Love, an act of love needs to come from that space where you start by forgiving yourself. Because a lot of the times why we don't forgive is because we're thinking somebody did something to us. But what we're not cognizant of is the fact that we participants in the things that happen to us. And so what did I allow? And maybe I need to forgive myself for the things that I've allowed in my life and the things that I've created, which have made other people uncomfortable. Start forgiving yourself and acting differently. You don't just forgive, you then shift. You change the way that you engage with other people, you engage with the environment around you. And I'm going to move from there to what Steph was talking about around the issue of healers. Healers have got it the hardest, I believe. But a lot of the times, and I'm going to be answering Tandega's question, a lot of the times when you don't even know that you are a healer yourself, you suffer through the what Steph called tests. You suffer until you snap out of this thing that I'm suffering. Because that suffering has a purpose. A lot of the times, the suffering that you go through is for you to learn the tools of how to help to heal others. It's a reminder that you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to take action towards helping others to heal. And so for you to start to heal yourself, you need to do the inner work. It's hard. It's not easy. It comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of, it's almost like you're sitting on needles all the time because it doesn't make you to relax. every single day until something happens. And even then, it doesn't mean that you're going to be comfortable. There will still be those moments where, you get things being thrown at you so that you can constantly evolve. You don't wake up and say, I've made it. I've gone through a process of transformation, the path of transformation. I've been on this journey for close to 25 years now. However, I don't assume that I've arrived, because I need to open myself up to a possibility that there's something maybe that I haven't learned today. And so I need to then go out there and find what that thing is so that I can help to heal myself. An active process of self-healing, self-love, putting the planet as a stage where I'm supposed to then go and learn about myself, learn about my interactions, that some of my interactions are meant to teach me something. And from those lessons, I need to take action. I don't know if I've answered Tandika's question, but that is, in my view, that is where we're supposed to be. We need not say, I've arrived, I know it all. You never really know it all until you die, I guess. But whilst you're still here, there's still more lessons to learn. And then it was never guaranteed that it was going to be easy.
Yeah. So true. Tanika, I hope that resonates with you. Just send some comments in there if that addresses it. But Kello, going back to the power grid in South Africa, I clearly got a message that it is literally the power that's been generated. It's not vibing with the South African. The land is upset. It will not connect until there's a change. And that is why we're sitting in the position where we are. Because how the electricity and how the power is vibrating against the energy that's being created is not done in the right way. It's been called on to change. And if nobody is seeing that the change is needed, we are going to continuously having that same electricity problem that we're currently facing, especially knowing in Africa specifically that with our ancestors and the roots and how we have Pello, for me, it is a clear indication, a clear sign. And it was clearly given to me last week that if we don't change how we are creating the power and energy on this, especially in this country, it's not going to work. Something needs to change. Ladies, I'm going to open.
I want to say something real quick on different stages of self-love. Like, as we go on this journey of self-love, we're going to go through different stages of what that means, and we're going to focus on maybe certain areas of our life and like, how can I create more self-love in this area of my life and this one and so on. And it's going to continue to evolve and grow with us. And so, I know for me, when I started out my healing journey and I was with my relatives, like, it meant starting to break free from some of those toxic patterns that were in my family dynamic, and starting to speak up for myself and voice myself and this and that. And then I evolved into, I don't know, making sure that I took care of myself as I ran my business, and making sure that I was taking care of my physical vessel, and just all of these little different things in regards to self-love. And as I've gone on my journey now, in the last couple of years with dealing with like a toxic relationship and these kinds of things, it's evolved into, how can I love and accept myself and respect myself enough to not make myself be with people who are not good for me, and to leave that, and to have firmer boundaries, and not let like the wounded parts of me continue to be attracted to toxic people, and keep being pulled to those kinds of dynamics, and give people who are clearly showing me red flags, give them the time of day, like, to put an end to that. And so now, because I've been working through that and stuff, now when people approach me, I'm just very much more confident and in my power. And I'm just like, this is what it is. As soon as you act up, like, I don't even stress out about it. I'm just like, okay, well, you're not for me. Bye. And I just keep going. And so it's different stages, and it evolves with us as we go through life. And I'm sure, as we get older, like when we have kids, it's going to be, seeing what self-love means to us in relation to like our grandchildren and our kids, and like supporting them, and like not doing too much for them, but still like being there for them and finding that balance. And we're just going to constantly have to revisit and redefine and explore and and learn like what self-love means in throughout different stages of our lives, right? And the different experiences that we have. So we're never done learning, like Pelo says. I personally believe as well, like the only time we go is like usually if we live longer lives, it's because we still have things to learn. So if we're still here, we got things to learn, right? And also what I wanted to speak to is like earlier in the conversation, I think it was Kimmy, I'm not sure, but talking about like, or maybe it was Pelo, but when we as we grow and stuff like that, like our understanding of love like starts changing, or it starts coming into our awareness of like, what does love really mean, and this and that. And, I've learned that as I've gotten older or wiser, or I don't know, more mature, whatever you want to call it. But I've learned that life experience is rich with wisdom. And as you go on your journey of time and space, you have a greater depth and understanding of things. And so there's a beautiful, powerful wisdom that you ladies have because of the fact that you've been on this planet longer than I have, and you've had certain experiences that I haven't yet have had. And there's just so much richness in that, and a deeper understanding of love that I don't have. And I'll only understand as I continue to grow and evolve and have similar experiences, So what I believe Pelo was referring to earlier is as we get older, like our conversation today is like more somber. I don't see it like that. I feel it's real, and it's real because it's like a mature love, because we, these last few years since we spoke, have gone through certain things that have really helped us to connect more deeply to who we are, and to tap more deeply into who we truly are in our power and our self-love. And now it's coming from this much more mature, real space. Whereas, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we, because of our immaturity and our lack of life experiences and personal self-awareness, we wouldn't have brought the depth that we bring to the conversation today, So even if there are people, like I was mentioning earlier, like people today are getting into personal development and healing and stuff younger and younger and younger. But even if they're self-aware in those ways and they have certain practices, even from a younger age, they still also need to understand that because they haven't lived here and gone through certain experiences that older people have, like they still have a lack of understanding of love in certain ways that, you know what I mean? I hope I'm communicating it, but they still have to continue to live their life experiences to cultivate that depth of love that we're only able to obtain through lived life experience. And last, I speak to someone in the comments, I can't remember who, but they mentioned like when we go through difficult things, the difficult things like are for our good or something like that. I can't remember verbatim the message, but yeah, like what I have really come to understand as a sensitive person and a healer and a person who cares so much is I've had to learn to embrace, especially as a healer, I've had to learn to embrace the challenges and the struggles and the heartbreak or whatever. I've had to learn to embrace that and to see all the good in that, and to really understand that on the other side of that pain or that struggle or that heartbreak, whatever it is, there's like a richness in the depth that I wouldn't have been able to access if it had not been for that challenge or that struggle or that heartbreak. So everything really does serve a purpose, and everything is beautiful in the end.
So true, so true. They have one of the users are having a bit of a laugh. Steph, please teach them how to detach. Okay, Kim, any final words from you?
It's a process to detach.
Yeah, I have a lot of final words, but I don't know how much time we have.
We know you do, Steph. We know you do, Kim. Sorry, I know you do.
Yeah, I'm reeling with things I'd like to say, and I just really want to. Actually, I just like Spirit to intervene and to make it so much more simple for everyone here today, because there are a couple of things where I'd just like to highlight that just like love, wisdom has a specific path. Steph, you've spoken very sincerely about what you feel that wisdom comes to those who are mature. And I wouldn't put it into age categories at all, because some of the wisest comments come from 7-year-olds. So the most innocent of beings can sometimes say these most profound truths where the adult, stuck, wounded, fearful 70-year-old goes, whoa, I'm offended by that truth. So wisdom follows a path, just like love follows a path. And that path of mastery that we talk about, the mastery of wisdom, could be a whole different discussion, where we do have life experience that teaches us, yes. But actually, everybody gains different knowledge. And then we make our own suggested ideas in terms of what we understand that knowledge to be by our perceptions and our history and our wounds. And we come up with something that is now a belief system. And then we say, oh, we're older and wiser. But actually, some of the oldest generation are actually like I have no words. Sometimes I'm, okay, that's fine. That's your perception, but I have no words. That's fine. You be you, I be me. I don't call that wisdom. I love those beautiful pearls that fall out of the mouth of a 4-year-old. It's just truth. It's absolute truth. It cannot be argued. It's divine governance. So please understand that wherever you're at, wisdom is something that grows within you from your childhood. It's recognizing the one simple concept that love is life itself, and life itself is love. Let's talk about this situation with, 2 of you are in the room today where you've had a very close experience with somebody very known to you who has taken the doorway to death. And there's something we say in spiritual, I don't even want to call it spiritual work. There's something we say in life and death, which is this, and I want to be as compassionate as possible when I talk about death, and particularly in the case of suicide, because it's very personal. Love is life itself. So why does a person want to rather experience death? And we can have ages of discussing this, but ultimately, as humans, we must recognize one fundamental, absolute truth. And remember, 2022 is about truth. Our absolute truth at this point in time is stop trying to be God. We are human. We are human. And the problem with, as you would see, any CEO of a massive, giant organization, they become intoxicated with power. And they develop what we call a God complex, where they can click their fingers and make stuff happen. And it doesn't matter whether it's wrong or right, good or bad. They, in those positions, have got God complex. Now, the tricky thing is that can happen to any human being, because we're just human. We're human and we're here to love, but we can get intoxicated with power. And sometimes we don't necessarily recognize that is what is intoxicating us, because ultimately, if we're swollen with something that's making us sick with love, if we're in love with the work that we're doing, but we're actually not connecting to truth, then those things can make us overwhelmed and almost dangerously separated, and can lead us down a very dark mental pathway, because I don't want any of the audience and ourselves to lose connection with the fact that we're human. We're not healers. We're humans who are healing with love. And just because maybe we're in professions that are healing by nature, by calling, by design, by aptitude, I'm loving the word aptitude today. Aptitude just came to me this morning, and I was listening and I said, okay, that's amazing, because aptitude and I was thinking in my mind about emotional intelligence and this God complex. Emotional intelligence is being used in the workplace like it's a flipping, brand new cheese on the shelf. And I just think it's still so intoxicated with the I, because intelligence starts with the letter I. So it's still very I-centered. Whereas aptitude starts with the letter A, which is all. So emotional aptitude, mental aptitude, spiritual aptitude, physical aptitude. Please listen to your bodies. Aptitude is 2 words. It's appropriate attitude. So meet the person where they are at. In management, when I studied management in 2004 sometime, I loved this one subject called executive development. And the main thing it said was, I cannot motivate other people to change or to do or to be, but I can create an environment in which they feel safe, motivated, loved. How do I create that environment? By actions that actually denote what the result is I'd like to see happen before my eyes, which of course is love. So it's creative thinking, but it's also this appropriate aptitude, which needs to be, we have to see people where they're stuck. You can be love, you can do love when you are really observing that person as a healer in position of power, where everybody is grasping at every word they take, and yet they are suffering from separation because they're only human. They're just human. They cannot be placed on a pedestal. They can only be loved. But sometimes when we lose connection, we're in danger because we're going into separation. So therefore, we're not in love. And that is where we're suffering truly from God complex, spiritual ego. We need to help each other as healers, humans, to stay there, stay connected with life and love. And it does sometimes mean that others around, as I said rightfully, Stef, we need to recognize, we need to have emotional aptitude all the time. It's not about me, I. It's about all. And I am part of the all, and then there is love. So it doesn't exclude yourself. It is all. And that's all I have time for.
That's all you have time for, ladies.
I'll go on forever.
Hello, I know you want to say something. Go for it, honey.
Just one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I want to acknowledge something that Steph said, and maybe put a little bit of a spin to what she was saying. The issue of older people that have been on the planet longer versus people that have been on the planet for a shorter time. I just want to comment on that. Steph, what I've learned in the last few years, maybe from both you and Kim, what I've learned in the last few years is that there is a reason why you guys, Steph in particular, the indigo children and the crystal children were born now. It's to snap us out of this thing of thinking that we understand things because we're older. And that is why perhaps, Kim, we are supposed to learn from Steph and them, because they come from a totally different area of the source, not from where we came from. That I can vouch for it, because they come already knowing who they are. We had to walk for years and years doing trial and error, trying to figure things out. They know who they are from day one. And that's very rare in our generation and generations before. And I just want to acknowledge what you guys come with, Steph. That's why you guys get it sooner than we did. Because you guys came already knowing who you are. You already came with your purpose in hand, understanding what it means, what it represents, and you already knew where to draw the line if somebody's stepping over the boundaries. You knew that. We struggled with that, because for us and the generations before, it has always been about pleasing, and depleting yourself, and not knowing how to love yourself, and not knowing how to give to yourself, not even knowing how to plug to source so that you can be who you're supposed to be. So we battled with that. But you guys came ready, packaged, ready, knowing who you are. I mean, when I look at my daughter, who's 17 now, when I look at her, when she was born, it's almost like she came with a message already. She just lacked the language of communicating that message. And over the years, I have learned that language that she had, which is not our human language, that language has shown me, has taught me how to parent her, compared to how things were in the past, where we thought as parents you're supposed to teach your children. She has taught me so much. There's so much wisdom that I got from her than the wisdom that I imparted to her. So we need to now also snap out of this thing of, because we're older, we know everything. I am very much open to learning from the younger generation, especially people in the 30s, people in the 20s and younger, because those people are very enlightened. They know who they are. And we, as the so-called older people, need to stop breaking those people down, loving them in a way that they teach us how to, because they teach us how to love them. And that's why you find that it's so pure when you're getting it from them versus when we're giving it to them with our expectations. That's my last contribution session.
So true. I mean, Pielo, I can say for my 12-year-old as well. At that age, I don't even know if I knew, if I had my, sorry, I'm going to say this, right? If I had my shit together at 12 years old, right? She knows what she wants. She's not decisive. She's, she knows what she wants. She goes and get it, and don't tell her otherwise, Listen, and I can totally relate to that. The younger generations, definitely, for sure. Guys, last opportunity. If you guys have basically not say #love, please do so. We're just going to finish off with this draw quickly. And I want to share with you guys how this looks quickly. So if you can, I'm not too sure if you guys can see me. I'm just going to do this draw quickly, and it automatically selects the winner itself. We're not going to give it to open mic. Here we go. So I will reach out to this by below studios. Sorry for the name. And I have a travel bag that's there for you guys, sponsored by Open Mic. And I will reach out to you via YouTube, and I'll get your details. If you are online, just send me your details. Otherwise, I will reach out to you. It's a travel case where you do travel. It's quite a nice compact thing to do. Pielo, there's just the last comment, so true. Thanks for the 4-year-old granddaughter teaching me to refresh and total amazement. Oh, beautiful. Ladies, I just want to share something with you. I have so much love for all three of you. When I call upon you guys and I just send a message and I say, guys, can you get together? You guys never ever tell me no. You always have so much love for me. And comments like this coming from the group, the platform that I have, and having you guys on, and all the talkers and all the speakers that come into Open Mic and share themselves and their truth and their authenticity is absolutely refreshing. And I must say, and to your point, Stef and Pelo, true, the talk that we had back then versus the talk that we had today, wow, guys. I am so honored and so loved by all of you guys, and I really, really love you guys. It's been such an honor these past years getting to know you guys, and even if you just come online and have a chat, we just reconnect immediately. You guys have so much to give the world, so much of love and kindness, and your words are absolutely powerful to all. So I just want to say thank you to all of you, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing you guys. These guys absolutely adored you guys. If I see all these comments that's coming through, it's just really rewarding to see that you have really touched so many people today, and hopefully there's more people that will be watching going ahead. So I want to say thank you, ladies, so much. I appreciate it. And to do it in true fashion style, Kim, we went over an hour and a half, but we're good to go. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and being part of the show. Please follow us, tag us, wherever, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. Stef, have a great morning. Thank you so much.